Thank you, Judge, and thank you, fellow debater. We live in a world divided between countries, between religions, between beliefs, between political parties, and between issues of all types. There are many countries that are not given the privilege of our laws and constitution. They are not given their right to speak their mind in public, online, or even in the comforts of their home. So why then, in a country like the United States, a country lauded for giving citizens freedom, for allowing opinions to be spoken, for so many things, is this country invading those rights? Is not the freedom of speech also the freedom to choose what not to and when not to speak? Why then does the government infringe upon those rights? Therefore, I proudly negate the resolution. Resolved, the U.S. ought to prioritize the pursuit of national security objectives above the digital privacy of its citizens. My value is individual security because it is the best term to judge the debate with on both sides of the resolution, and my value criterion is satisfying citizens' interests and is the best measure for the value of our debate. At this point, I would like to state I agree with my opponent's given definitions. I am planning on first going over my contentions and then refuting my opponent's case. Contention 1. The national security objectives of the United States intrude upon our liberty and rights. While the resolution states that the U.S. ought to prioritize the pursuit of national security objectives above the digital privacy of its citizens, it does not say that the national security objectives should replace digital privacy. However, essentially, this is exactly what the government plans to do, and they can do so with or without our permission. It was in 2013 that Edward Snowden first leaked documents from the U.S. government's NSA that showed that the NSA collected the telephone records from millions without the citizens' knowledge or permission. This was not the only leaked document, however, it was only the first. Over the following years, Snowden helped release several documents with information that the NSA had tried to keep hidden. This information included documents on the NSA's PRISM, Boundless Informant, Evil Olive, and Upstream programs, all of which helped collect data on citizens through data from backdoors into Google and Facebook, internet metadata, email metadata, intelligence coverage through heat maps, as well as telecommunications including email, text, and cell phone communications. Not only did the government infringe upon citizens' rights, they paid a great deal of money for it. $155 million over 3 years alone went to gain access and influence over British GCHQ spying programs. A spying program where 7 of the world's leading telecommunication companies gave secret unlimited access to their network of undersea cables. Which one do you go through? In fact, the U.S. intelligence black budget that was revealed in 2013 had 16 spy agencies having a budget of $52.6 billion just for culling information from its citizens. The NSA even admitted to the illegality of what they had been doing. An internal audit conducted on the NSA showed that they broke privacy rules thousands of times per year, yet they still continue to break these rules and concerns for their citizens. We also have to consider our own Constitution. The right to privacy would be included behind the 4th Amendment to the Constitution, which bans unreasonable search and seizure. When the government collects and shares information about its citizens, it is conducting an electronic version of such banned searches, despite not explicitly stating the words digital privacy. Our government does not have the right to intrude upon our liberties and rights in this way. It does not have the right to violate our Constitution, our laws, our basic rights, yet they continue to do so. Contention 2. Digital surveillance under national security does not prevent a significant amount of attacks. Despite many proponent arguments that national security is supreme, there is little evidence that shows that sacrificing digital privacy leads to a heightened level of national security. An independent agency called the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, which resides within the executive branch, couldn't find a single instance involving a threat to the U.S. in which the telephone records program made a concrete difference in the outcome of a counterterrorism investigation. In 2015, when the time to renew the Patriot Act came around, which provides a minor amount of legality of the NSA programs in regards to terrorism specifically, but not of citizens, General Keith B. Alexander admitted that the number of terrorist plots foiled by the NSA's huge database of every phone call made in or to America was only 1 or perhaps 2, far smaller than the 54 originally claimed by the administration. 1 or 2 foiled attacks. Even if the amount of attacks foiled had been 54 as they claimed in 2013, how does 54 attacks turn simply into 1 or 2 attacks over a period of 2 years? 2 years should have been ample enough time for the government to stop and foil more attacks, thus supporting the national security objectives that have been set, therefore gaining citizen support and interest. 1 or 2 possible stopped attacks over a period of 2 years is not within a citizen's interest, not when their privacy and rights are at stake. I believe that my contention and arguments are fully in support of my value and can be used to accurately judge this debate. Therefore, if you recognize any of my contentions as the truth, as a judge, you must agree that prioritizing national security over digital privacy is not to a citizen's benefit, and consequently vote for the negative. In my opponent's C1, he claims O.J. Simpson as his key piece of evidence, where a phone call helped incriminate him. A phone call, however, that the U.S. government obtained legally because they had probable cause. They had evidence that he had already committed the crime. The phone call was only helped to use in his conviction to further put him into prison for more years. He also claims in his contention 1 that if calling this information goes against the law, then so be it. However, later in his contention 2, he states that we should not give police the ability to break the law and get this information, but instead make it lawful, therefore overruling his first statement in his contention 1. He also says that in a police oath, they should hold up the Constitution, find evidence, and do this. However, this resolution goes against the entire Constitution. The 4th Amendment states against unreasonable searches and seizures. However, what is it that police are doing when they call this information? What are they doing when they collect telephone records and cell phone records and text messages and emails? Is that not an unreasonable search and seizure into the citizen's privacy? Is that not breaking the Constitution? I would like to think it is. In his contention 3, he goes over privacy over safety and whether that is what we are doing. He claims that it's embarrassing text over a loved one's safety. But is that really the case? It's not embarrassing text that the issue is over. It's about the government's intrusion into our privacy and whether they have the right to do so. I'm not worried about embarrassing text on my phone. I'm worried about the fact that the government's intrusion into our privacy is only the first step. The first step to what? I'm not quite sure. But the first step to breaking the law means breaking more laws. I do not want to give the government the right to be held over me. I do not want to give the government the right to rule over me. If that means voting against the resolution, voting for the negative, and voting against national security objectives that don't even necessarily help us, then so be it. Breaking the law, breaking our Constitution is not worth the government's possibility of ruling over us. We are a democracy for a reason. We are not a dictatorship. We do not need 1 or 2 possible terrorist attacks for a reason for the government to invade our privacy. Even further, in my opponent's contention 3, he uses the stingray, a form of surveillance that is becoming a staple into the local police essentialities. However, we are talking about national security objectives, and while the stingray is a key component, it is not legal either. Therefore, I believe that you should vote for the negative if you